Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to today's session. In today's Finance 360-degree session, we are going to cover two very important news articles. The first one is regarding the RBI Retail Direct Scheme, soon to have the mobile application. So what is this new mobile application that the Reserve Bank of India has announced? And what is this Retail Direct Scheme? We will have the brief idea about this also. As well as the second news article is regarding the alternative investment funds. So what is the update that the Reserve Bank of India has brought for these funds that we are going to discuss in today's session. Okay, so let's start with these topics that are very important from the exam point of view. Direct objective questions can come from both these news articles, as well as the Retail Direct Scheme is also important from the descriptive point of view of the RBI. So let's start with it, but before that, do subscribe to the YouTube channel of EduTap to get the relevant videos, as well as join our Telegram channel where you will get the PDF of this session. Okay, so the PDF of this session is uploaded in the Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel is provided to you in the description box below. So good morning everyone, so good to see every one of you. So welcome to the session. Let's start with the first news article, that is the RBI Retail Direct Scheme, introduction of mobile application. Do tell me that if I am audible clearly. And there is the Retail Direct Scheme, there is the introduction of mobile application. So in the statement on developmental and regulatory policy that is released with the Monetary Policy Committee meeting statement of April 2024. Okay. So in April 2024, there was the release of the statement on developmental and regulatory policy, in which it has been said that there will be the introduction of mobile application that will happen. So first of all, Retail Direct Scheme was launched in November 2021 by the Prime Minister of our country, and this gives access to the individual investors directly to the government securities. So the individual investors, they can open their gilt accounts. They can open their gilt accounts with the Reserve Bank of India, and through these accounts they can invest in the government securities in the primary market as well as in the secondary market. So the scheme enables, so the Retail Direct Scheme enables the individual investors to maintain their gilt accounts with the Reserve Bank of India, through which the retail investors, the individual investors, they can invest in the government securities. They can buy the government securities in the primary auctions, as well as they can buy or sell the securities through the NDS-OM platform. Okay, that is negotiated dealing system. It is the negotiated dealing system order matching system. Okay, so negotiated dealing system order matching platform. Through this platform, the individual investors can also buy or sell the securities through this platform in the secondary market. So this is the order matching platform, that is a screen-based electronic anonymous order matching system for secondary market trading in the government securities particularly, and this is owned by the Reserve Bank of India. Remember this also very clearly. Okay, so this is the system through which the retail investors are also buying or selling the government securities in the secondary market. Okay, so they have the gilt accounts with the Reserve Bank of India, through which they can invest in the government securities in the primary auctions. They can take part, as well as through the NDS-OM they can buy or sell the securities in the secondary market. To further improve the ease of access, a mobile application of the Retail Direct portal is being developed, and this has been stated by the Reserve Bank of India, by the MPC, in the statement on developmental and regulatory policy document. Okay, so the app will enable the investors to buy and sell the instruments on the go at their convenience. That is, in the app only. Before, they had to invest in the government securities through this website. They had to log in this website. They had to open their account and log in this website, and through this website they were able to do the trading and so. But now there will be the mobile application, like the IND Money or the Zerodha and the Grow. They have their mobile application, so it becomes easier for you to access the information and to see that what is going on with your securities. So with the mobile application, it will become very easy for the retail investors to know about their investments. Okay, this app will enable investors to buy and sell instruments on the go whenever they want at their convenience. The app will be available for use shortly. Okay, so this is the app that will be available shortly, and this was the website through which the retail investors were usually investing. Okay, that is open your account, as well as if you want to log in your account or you want to log in the NDS-OM secondary market. So you have to do this from this, through this website, through this portal. So now there will be the mobile application that will be provided to the retail investors for their easy access and for their convenience. So the retail direct scheme, we have discussed all about the retail direct scheme in this session. You can see that who can invest and what are the different norms that are under the retail direct scheme through this session. Okay, so you can see all the information regarding the retail direct scheme through this session. Now coming to the next news article, that is the Reserve Bank of India has modified the norms for the alternative investment fund. So what is the change that has happened? So alternative investment fund, first of all, they are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India. So the Reserve Bank of India has not made changes in the norms of the AIF, but the Reserve Bank of India has made the changes in the norms regarding the banks and the NBFCs, that how they can access the AIFs. Okay, so we will understand that what does this mean. But first of all, in relief to the banks and NBFCs, that there is a relief that has been given by the Reserve Bank of India to the banks and the NBFCs. The Reserve Bank of India has relaxed the norms that was announced on investment in alternative investment funds. So there were some norms that were decided by the Reserve Bank of India in December last year, and these norms were on the banks, the NBFCs, we will see that there are other institutions on which the norms were there, that if they are investing in the alternate investment funds, there are some norms that had to be maintained by the regulated entities of the Reserve Bank of India, that if you are investing in the alternate investment funds, you have to maintain some norms. Now these norms have been relaxed by the Reserve Bank of India. So I hope you understand that the AIFs, they are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, and so if there are any norms that have to be made in regards to the AIFs, the SEBI will make it. The RBI is only making the norms for the banks and the NBFCs that are accessing these AIFs. So there are some regulations regarding that. So first of all, what is the alternate investment fund? Alternate investment fund, like we all or many of we invest in the mutual funds. Okay, because mutual fund, it is for the public, we can say public can invest in the mutual funds through different applications. But the alternate investment fund, they are for the sophisticated investors. Even the investors that have like lakhs of money, even they cannot invest in this alternative investment fund. So alternative investment fund means any fund that is established or incorporated in India, which is privately pooled investment vehicle, which collect funds from sophisticated investors, whether Indian or foreign, for investing it in accordance with a defined investment policy for the benefit of its investor. So alternative investment fund, I hope you have studied this in your static part of the finance. And the alternate investment fund, this is, remember that this is for the sophisticated investors that has huge amount to pool in. Usually the minimum that has to be given by an investor is 1 crore, and so that is the minimum that has to be given by the investor, the outside investor of the AIF. Now there are 3 categories of the alternate investment funds, and you can see that the registration fee to be paid by an AIF is as under. For different AIFs, there are different registration fee that has to be paid by an AIF to the SEBI and such. So this is the SEBI payment of fees. So category 1 of the AIF, this includes the venture capital funds, this include the angel funds, as well as the social infrastructure funds, the social funding or the infrastructure funds, as well as the category 2, this includes the real estate funds or the private equity funds and such, as well as the category 3 alternative investment funds. They include the hedge funds, okay. So all of these funds, like if you have the starting knowledge, so you must know about all of these funds. They are the different kind of funds. Okay, so category 1 alternative investment funds, this includes the venture capital funds or the angel funds that usually invest in the startups and such, okay, or they invest in the infrastructure kind of projects, the social projects. As well as category 2 alternate investment funds, they invest in the real estate funds or the private equity funds, the private equity or the private companies, the big companies. Category 3, they are the hedge funds. They are usually the hedge funds. And the category 1 and the category 2, they are close-ended funds usually. That is, they have a lock-in period. But the category 3 funds, they can be close-ended or open-ended. They can have a lock-in period or they do not have the lock-in period. The hedge funds, there are the hedge fund investors, and these hedge funds, they invest in various kind of instruments such as the derivatives, such as the private equity also, also, the shares also, the debt also, they also take the loan to invest further. So there are the different kind of alternative investment funds, but you can understand that they invest in complex instruments, and that's why they are not open for the retail investors like you and me. They are only for the sophisticated investors, and usually the minimum that an investor has to invest is 1 crore. Okay, for some categories there is also 25 lakh. That is the minimum that they have to invest in a AIF. Okay, so and mostly the people do not recommend to invest in the AIF if you are a retail investor and you do not have much of the money. Okay, it is the high net worth individuals that have crores of the money that can invest in the AIF, or it is the banks, NBFCs and such institutions that actually invest in the AIF that has the risk taking capacity. Okay, so this is the brief idea of AIF. I hope you understand this. It is the pooled money, like the mutual funds are also pooled money, but there are greater restrictions on the mutual funds by the SEBI, because the retail investors, the small investors that do not have much knowledge, that have minimum of the knowledge, we can say, they are also investing in the mutual funds. Okay, so that's why in the mutual funds there are many of the restrictions in regards to where they are investing. But the alternative investment fund, there are different kind of alternative investment fund that can invest in complex instruments, and only the sophisticated investors are advised to invest in the alternative investment funds. Okay, so this is the brief idea about the alternative investment funds. Now the regulated entities such as the NBFCs, as well as the commercial banks, including the different kinds of banks that you can see, as well as all the primary urban cooperative banks also, as well as all India financial institutions also, they are all the institutions that actually invest in the alternative investment funds that are regulated. Now these institutions, they are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India, but the alternative investment funds are regulated by the SEBI, by the Securities and Exchange Board of India. So regulated entities, they make investment in units of AIF. So these are the regulated entities of the Reserve Bank of India that are actually investing in the alternative investment funds. As part of their regular investment operation, they undertake the investment. However, certain transactions of regulated entities involving the AIFs that raise regulatory concerns. So what was happening? Let me tell you that these regulated entities, especially the banks and the NBFCs, they were investing in the alternative investment funds, and these alternative investment funds, let's say, is investing in a company, So the banks or the NBFCs, they are investing in the alternative investment fund, and this alternative investment fund is, let's say, is investing in the XYZ company. Now this XYZ company has already taken the debt from this ABC bank, Now the ABC bank is again investing in the AIF, and this AIF is providing the money to the XYZ company. Now let's say that the XYZ company has said that it has taken the 10 crores of the loan, from the bank, from this particular bank. Now XYZ company is not able to give the loan back. So the XYZ company, through this alternative investment fund, is further taking the money from this ABC bank to actually return the money of this ABC bank. So what is happening? The evergreening of loans is happening. That means the debtor directly or indirectly is giving, the lender indirectly or directly is giving further loans to a company, so that this company is able to pay back the money of the lender, and this is kind of neglecting, or this is hiding the status of the loan. So this is the kind of evergreening of loans that happens. It refers to a practice in which the lender is again renewing the loan or giving a new loan so that the old loan can be paid back, and this is hiding the status of the debtor. So this was happening through the alternate investment funds. You can see that the regulated entities make investment in units of AIFs. So there are different units in the AIFs. The AIF, let's say it is a venture capital fund, or it is a hedge fund that is investing in different units, in different equity stocks, in different derivatives and such, in different debt instruments and such. So in the AIF, there are different units that is being invested on. Okay, so the regulated entities make investment in units of AIFs as part of their regular investment operation. However, certain transactions of regulated entities involving the AIFs that raise regulatory concern, have come to our notice, have come to the notice of the Reserve Bank of India. These transactions entail substitution of direct loan exposure. So now this bank ABC do not want to give direct loan to the XYZ. Otherwise the Reserve Bank of India will know that okay, previously 10 crore of the loans were given to the XYZ company, and now this ABC bank is again giving 20 crore of the loan to the XYZ company, so that the XYZ company can return the loan, the previous loan, as well as can have more money, as well as the XYZ company can have more money to do further things or to undertake further actions. Okay, so rather than giving the direct loans that can be seen as the evergreening of loans, AIFs, this instrument was used to give the loans, to give the further exposure, to have the further exposure. So these transactions entail substitution of direct loan exposure of the regulated entities to borrowers with indirect exposure that you are doing through the investment in the units of AIFs. Okay, so in order to address concerns relating to possible evergreening. So in order to address the concerns relating to possible evergreening through this route, the norms were introduced for the entities in December 2023. So there were the norms that were introduced in 2023, in December 2023. So this was the concern that was identified by the Reserve Bank of India, that through an indirect way, through the way of the alternative investment funds, the banks or the NBFCs, they are doing the evergreening of the loans. Okay, so they have chosen the indirect route to do the evergreening of loans. This was identified on December. This was identified, and the Reserve Bank of India had brought a notification on December 19, 2023, where the norms were introduced for investing in the AIF. Okay, so now there is the relaxation that has been provided in these norms, because the norms were very, very strict. So now on March 2024, there are the relaxations that have been provided and the clarification that has been provided on some of the norms for better understanding of the norms. Okay, so with a view to ensure uniformity in the implementation among the regulated entities and to address the concerns that has been flagged by many of the stakeholders, by the representations in various representations received from stakeholders, new norms have been advised, and the new norms, they have been there for the relaxation of the older norms. So first of all, new is what? The older norm said that the regulated entities shall not make investment in any scheme of AIF. Any scheme of AIF. So the regulated entity shall not make investment in any scheme of AIF in any unit. There are different units in a scheme. So AIF, alternative investment fund, it is a fund, okay, that is investing, that is a scheme, we can say, that is investing in different units. Okay, so it was said that the regulated entity shall not make investment in any scheme. In any scheme, there are different schemes also of the AIF. In any scheme of the AIF, the investment should not be made which has downstream investment either directly or indirectly in a debtor company of the regulated entity. So the ABC, that is a debtor, that is a lender, bank, the debtor is the XYZ company, So if a alternative investment fund, or if any scheme of a alternative investment fund, if any scheme of the alternative investment fund is having the exposure, is having the investment in the debtor company, then this ABC bank that already has exposure to this debtor company cannot invest in this AIF fund. Is it becoming clearer or not? So I hope you understand that the regulated entities shall not make investment in any scheme of the AIF which has the downstream investment, which has the investment directly or indirectly in a debtor company of the ABC bank. So ABC bank cannot have any exposure to the AIF, cannot invest in this AIF that is investing in the, that is directly or indirectly investing in the debtor company of the ABC bank. And what is this debtor company of the regulated entity? For this purpose, for this particular purpose, the debtor company of the regulated entity is the XYZ company. That shall mean any company to which the regulated entity has currently or previously had a loan or investment exposure anytime during the preceding 12 months. So the loan has been given in the preceding 12 months. So that will become a debtor company of the bank. Okay, now it was said that now the downstream investment has been clarified, that what are these downstream investment. Okay, downstream investment shall exclude investment in equity shares. So now if the the AIF, that is the alternative investment fund, is not giving the debt to this debtor company, but the AIF is doing the downstream investment, is doing the investment in the equity shares, then the ABC Bank should be able to invest in this AIF scheme. That means if the AIF scheme is investing in is providing any kind of debt to this debtor company, then there should be no investment that the ABC Bank should be doing. Okay, or if there is the hybrid instrument, that is including the debt instrument also as well as some equity instrument, so there is the hybrid instrument, through that the AIF is providing the debt, is providing the money to this debtor company, then also the ABC Bank cannot invest in this AIF. But if this AIF fund scheme is doing the investment through the equity, that is the shares are being bought of this debtor company, then the ABC Bank can do the investment in the AIF. So it has been clarified that in the new norms it has been clarified that the downstream investment shall exclude the investment in equity shares of the debtor company of the regulated entity, but shall include all the other kind of investments such as the hybrid investment, that is including the debt and the debt instruments directly. So REs shall not make investment in any scheme of AIF which has a downstream investment. Now the downstream investment means that is excluding the equity investment. Okay, downstream investment means any kind of investment excluding the equity shares investment directly or indirectly in a debtor company. So if the ABC Bank cannot invest in the AIF if the investment is happening of the debt nature or the hybrid kind of investment is happening which is including the debt, but if the investment is through the equity shares, then the ABC Bank can invest in this AIF, that is investing in the debtor company through the equity shares. Clear? Is it clear now? Clear, or is there any confusion? In the old norms, downstream investment was not specified that what is this downstream investment. So all the kind of investments were taken as the downstream investment. Let it be the equity investment, let it be the debt instruments. But now it has been clarified that it is excluding the investment in the equity shares, because equity shares means the shares of the company. That is not a debt, right? So that is allowed. Now next norm, there are only 2-3 norms, so it is not a big article. So this is the first norm. Now the second norm is that if an AIF, so this is the old norm, So if an AIF scheme in which regulated entity is already an investor makes a downstream investment. So this is the old norm in which it was said that if an AIF scheme in which RE is already an investor. So let's say ABC Bank has already the investment in the AIF scheme. That scheme is doing the investment in the debtor company, and this investment has happened before the release of the notification. So that is the regulated entity is already the investor of the AIF scheme that has the downstream investment in the debtor company, So in this case, the ABC Bank has to decrease its investment, has to negate its investment within 30 days. Okay, then the regulated entity shall liquidate its investment in the scheme within 30 days from the date of such downstream investment by the AIF. So within 30 days it has to be liquidated if the regulated entities have already invested into such schemes having downstream investment in their debtor company. So if ABC company has already invested in the AIF that has the downstream investment in the debtor company, and downstream investment before was not specified, so downstream investment means any kind of investment is in the debtor company, then within the 30-day period is given for liquidation from the date of the issuance of this circular that was issued on December 2023. So within 30 days, the liquidation of the asset has to happen, the liquidation of the investment has to happen. And if you are not able to liquidate your investment, then then you have to make the provision of 100%. That means in case regulated entities are not able to liquidate their investments within the above prescribed time limit, that is 30 days, they shall make 100% provision on such investment. That means if the total investment that the ABC company, if the total investment that the ABC bank is doing, let's say this ABC bank is doing the investment of 10 crores in this AIF that has a downstream investment in a XYZ company, that is a debtor company of the ABC bank. So this 10 crores of the provisions will have to be maintained by the bank also. So if the bank is doing the 10 crores of the investment in the AIF fund that has a downstream investment, then this 100% of the provisioning has to be done by this bank. Means whatever the investment is, total amount of the provisions will have to be kept by the bank also. Now it has been specified that the new norms have specified that the provisioning shall be required only to the extent of investment by the regulated entity in the AIF scheme, which is further invested by the AIF in the debtor company. So let's say the AIF has only invested 1 crore in the XYZ company, then only the provision should be made of 1 crore, not the total amount. Let's say this total amount, that is the other 9 crores, they are being invested in some other companies, let's say the Reliance or some other companies, the Tata Motors or something. So that means the 10 crores is not completely going to the debtor, right? So the provision should not be of the 10 crores. The provision should only be of the money, that is 1 crore, that is being invested by the AIF in the debtor company. So that is the idea, that the provisioning, the 100% of the provisioning is not required for the whole investment that is happening in the AIF fund, but the provisioning shall be required only to the extent of investment by the regulated entity in the AIF scheme, which is further invested by the AIF in the debtor company, and not on the entire investment. The provisioning is not required on the entire investment of the regulated entity in the AIF scheme. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now another norm is, so this is the older norm. So this was para 1, this was the para 2. So now coming to the older norms. So para 3, investment by REs in the subordinated units of any AIF scheme. AIF scheme, each scheme of the alternative investment fund, it has a corpus, it has a fund. Okay, so each scheme, there can be the multiple scheme of the AIF, alternative investment fund can have multiple scheme, and each scheme of the AIF has different corpus, has different kind of units that it is investing in. So investment by the regulated entity in the subordinated unit of any AIF scheme. Let's say this AIF scheme, this AIF has different schemes. So in this scheme there are some subordinated units, in this scheme there are some units, there is the debt, there is the equity in which the investment is happening, there are the fund, the real estate in which the investment is happening. So the investment by the regulated entity in the subordinated unit of any AIF scheme with a priority distribution model that we will understand shall be subject to full deduction from RE's capital funds. So it was said before that the investment that is done by the regulated entities in the subordinated units of a scheme, there is, and this scheme is under the priority distribution model. Priority distribution model means that in this model the AIF is dividing its investors into two classes, class 1 and class 2, the junior class and the senior class. Okay, the junior class has to pay more for the losses as compared to the senior class. So you can read here that a class of the investors, they have to have share, the share of losses will be more than the rate as compared to the other class that will have less shares in the losses. Okay, so if it is a senior class, it will have less losses in the less share of the losses. Okay, so this was the priority distribution model. So if the regulated entity is the subordinated unit of any AIF scheme with a priority distribution model, that the regulated entity has got the priority, will have the less losses. So in this case, the full deduction, there is no need for keeping the provisioning, there is no need to keep the provisions, but your capital funds, like from the tier 1 and tier 2 capital, the proposed deduction from the capital shall take place equally from tier 1 and tier 2. From the CRAR, your, like from the capital, from your capital, the money will be deducted, or it will be seen as your capital funds that you are keeping. Okay, so now the new paragraph that has been added, or the new norm that has been added, is that paragraph 3 of the circular shall only be applicable if, so only like you do not have to maintain the provisioning only if and if you have the priority distribution model, then you do not have to maintain separate provisions from your tier 1 capital and tier 2 capital. There will be the full deduction that will happen. But it was said that this is only, so in the new norms it has been specified that this will only be allowed if you do not have any downstream investment in a debtor company, if the regulated entity has no downstream investment in the debtor company of the regulated entity. If the regulated entity has investment in the subordinated units of an AIF scheme which has the downstream exposure to the debtor company, then there is the provisioning that is required. Then the same rules will apply as they are applying here, that is the provisioning will have to be maintained. Okay, so provisioning will not have to be maintained if you have the priority distribution model, as well as if you are not having the downstream investment. Okay, but the provisioning will be required, the norms will have to be followed if they are having the downstream investment. Subordinated units, like I have told you, that they are the units, the regulated entities, they are investing in the scheme. Now these schemes have some units, have different kind of units, okay, that they are investing in, that the fund is investing in. So these are the subordinated units of the scheme of the fund. So alternative investment fund, it is investing in different units through a particular scheme. So that is subordinated units are there. Okay. Now there is the clarification that has been given that the investments by regulated entities, investment by regulated entities in the AIFs through intermediaries such as fund of funds, such as a fund of fund is an AIF which invests in other AIF. So let's say that you are investing in this AIF through some other AIF. The regulated entity is investing in this AIF through some other AIF. So this will not come, and this is not being determined in the circular that what are the norms that will be followed here. So they are not included in the scope of the circular, as well as or through the mutual fund. If through the mutual fund, that is the intermediary, you are investing in any AIF. So through that also there is no scope, like in the scope of the circular, there is no mention of such kind of investment. So investments by the regulated entities that the regulated entities are not doing directly. The regulated entity is not directly investing in this AIF, but the regulated entity is using the intermediaries to invest in this AIF. In this case, fund of funds is happening, or through the mutual funds you are investing in the AIF, so they are not included in the scope of the circular. So this has been mentioned by the Reserve Bank of India, that if regulated entities are investing through through the intermediaries, so this is not, the norms are not under the scope of the circular. Okay. Priority distribution model, you can see here, actually priority distribution model is not allowed by SEBI. So the SEBI has said to the AIFs to stop taking more of the funds under the priority distribution model. So priority distribution model is actually the model in which the alternative investment funds are having two classes of investors. Okay, first class of investor and the second class of investor, or the one class of investor and the other class of investor. So one class of investor will have more losses as per the rate, and the other class of investors will have lesser losses. So that is, one class of investors share loss more than the rate to their holding in the AIF against other class of investors or the unit holders, since the latter has priority in distribution over the former. So if the priority in distribution is there, if the priority distribution model is there, if the priority in distribution is there, whichever class of investors is getting the priority, that class of investor will have to share less losses. Okay, because they are also having, let's say that AIF was opened only for 3 years, okay, and some investors are investing first. So the investors that are investing first, they are getting less of the profits, but they are getting less of the shares in the losses. Now the later on investors that are investing, they are getting more part of the profit, as well as they will also have to share more part of the losses. Yes, it is not mentioned. So these kind of norms for these intermediaries and such, it is not mentioned in the circular that what will happen to these kind of investments that is happening through the intermediary. Okay. Any other confusion anyone has? This is a little complicated, but I have tried to explain all the norms. I do not want to leave any of the norm. So usually what happens now, that what we find difficult, we leave it in the session, so that हमें नहीं समझाना पड़े. But I do not want to do that. Whatever is mentioned in the circular, I brought that for you so that I can break that down. Yes, it is difficult, but at least you should be aware about the whole circular. If it is in news, it is in news. The most of the newspapers have discussed only what has been mentioned by the RBI. They have copy pasted the lines. They have not tried to find that what is this priority distribution model and what are the different things that are mentioned. Okay, so these are typical, but try to understand them one by one. Okay, and just have the basic idea that what is being mentioned in the circular. So this is it for today. I hope you have understood the news article. The basic idea you have got. Yes, it is a little difficult, especially because it is more related to the static part. Okay, so this is the first question. So try to answer this question. This is your homework question. Okay, now this is the second question. Try to answer this question also. This is also your homework question. So here you have to tell the incorrect statement. I hope you will be able to tell the incorrect statement, and here you have to tell the, yes, here also you have to tell the incorrect statement. So this is it for today, but there is an announcement from EduTap that we have brought for you the comprehensive guidebook for RBI, NABARD and SEBI, so that through a single guidebook you can get the much of the information regarding the examination. If you want to know about the pattern, the syllabus of the examination, as well as if you want to get the previous year questions, all of this is provided in this guidebook, and you can easily download this guidebook. The link is provided in the description box below, and this is absolutely free of cost to save your time, to save your efforts. So do download this guidebook if you want to get more understanding of the examination, and do give me the right answer of the homework question in the comment section below. And I hope you like the session. Correct. For the Feb, the monthly revision session will happen on 17th of April. That is on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. At 6:30 p.m. So do attend that session, because many of the notifications that are not covered in the regular sessions, I will try to cover all the important notifications in that monthly session that will be held on Wednesday 6:30 p.m. on 17th April. Okay. So you're most welcome everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the session. So do tell me in the comment section that you like the session, as well as do tell me the homework answers. Thank you very much. If you have any query, you can mail us here.